So we're looking, I think, hopefully soon we'll be talking about a dev kit or a dev board that we're going to make available, and we want to make it available as many of you that want to go try it out. And then I think using the feedback from that, our goal is to absolutely get our AI technology into as many hands as possible. So I think we can say that fairly safely.
So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, you know I talk about Tenstorrent a lot, and we're right in the middle of an interview series with the company. You've seen my interviews with Jim, the CEO. You've seen my interviews with Weihan, the lead architect. Joining me now is David, Chief Customer Officer, which I think is a fancy word for sales.
Yeah, we debated about whether to call it Chief Sales Officer, but I think we're really big on ensuring that the community is coming along with us for the ride. So we wanted something that was a little more encompassing.
So I've known Dave for a number of years now. We purely had an online social media relationship. David spent a good portion of his career selling laptops to the Asian market, in particularly Japan, hence why he's got this funky thing here, which I'm absolutely stealing from him, by the way. But right now, he's obviously here at Tenstorrent. And if you've seen my content before, we've covered Tenstorrent from essentially a productization perspective, this sort of chiplet, and IP approach. Dave's in charge of putting that out into customers. And one thing that you briefly showed me that I hadn't heard about before is Galaxy. And I wanted to ask you about this. What's Galaxy?
Right, so Galaxy is our 4U ultra-dense AI server. So I think the best way to look at it is kind of what we're positioning against DGX.
But DGXs sell everywhere. Is that the idea for the Galaxy?
Anyone that's looking for very dense AI compute, I think we've got a really interesting solution. So DGX does sell everywhere, and I think this is precisely the hardware that we want in people's hands. Currently, right now, Galaxy is going to be running our PyBuddha software, which means it's going to run any AI model out of the box. It's going to lower the graph, look at the heuristics, and run it, and everyone's going to be happy. Where we want to start, given the interest around LLMs, I'm going to position it as an LLM appliance because we're seeing a lot of demand for our customers. They want to run either an inference or fine-tuning large LLMs, modern LLMs, and they want to do it faster and cheaper than what they can get today with NVIDIA, if they can get something from NVIDIA.
Yeah. Supply chain and lead time on those things I've heard is quite large. So one thing that I hope a lot of the audience is familiar with is Tenstorrent essentially deals in two main segments, and that's machine learning, so AI, and then RISC-V. Right. And you've already announced some deals on both. However, everyone kind of thought that with the announcement of your big RISC-V core, this Ascalon core, which we've covered in detail with Weihan, that might be kind of the lead product for you guys. But most of your deals so far have been about machine learning.
Yeah, so let me kind of take a step back before I answer that question. So you made an interesting comment, right? Is Tenstorrent a machine learning company or is it a RISC-V company? And I think the answer is both. But what I think is more interesting is, sure, in the AI ML space, we're going up against all the other ML startups and NVIDIA, of course. And then in RISC-V, you could argue that we're going against ARM. I don't really think we're going against the other RISC-V folks out there right now, like Sci-Fives of the world. I think we're all kind of fighting an uphill battle against ARM, so we're kind of in this together. But I think the important part is, okay, we're playing in these two markets, but if you look down the road and you look at what we've announced, and then you look at the trends and what you see with Grace Hopper and MI300, this coming together of big general compute and a big acceleration, I think, is undeniable. So for us, there are two separate product lines that are being developed for a very specific purpose, and that's to come together. So separate now, but I think in no time you'll see us start to talk about that combination AI and ML, ML and RISC-V. Now to answer your question, absolutely. So when we started, I'll be honest, we have not done a lot of outbound for our IP. We're really focused on having a phenomenal machine learning solution that can be an alternative for what NVIDIA is offering on the market today. When Jim came out and announced our RISC-V CPU, we had a significant amount of inbound interest from customers saying, hey, that looks great. We believe in that combination general compute and acceleration, but we want that RISC-V CPU, we want a standalone, we want the IP, and we want it now. So that opened up a number of discussions with automotive manufacturers, HPC, server, mobile, data center, I think the usual suspects. What was interesting is every time someone talks to us about RISC-V, the conversation invariably goes to AI. And vice versa, actually. If you start on AI, you move to RISC-V as well. I think people who are looking to use RISC-V or machine learning understand that they want to own their own compute and own their own silicon. And I think Tenstorrent is someone that can offer them both. Just one thing. Sorry, I guess I didn't answer why AI versus RISC-V. What's super interesting about our AI IP and why we're looking, we've done a couple deals that we've announced already, is that I believe that we're the only AI IP vendor, and we're not an IP company. We're strategically selling our IP to customers that we think we can work with. But what I'm hearing from customers more than anything is really three things. Number one, our IP silicon tested. It's not just some fancy, SIMD's memory that we've thrown together. We're using it in our products. We've got a software stack that works against it. We've taped out the silicon. I mean, that's a big deal, right? On top of that, again, we own our own software hardware, and we've got use cases and customers using it today so that they know that they're getting IP that works and can do what they want. And finally, I think a lot of customers are looking down the road and they want that interoperability between their compute and their AI, specifically RISC-V. And not only do we have RISC-V built into our actual AI 10.6 cores, but they're designed to be paired with JIM's RISC-V Ascalon. So we've got the best of both worlds there.
That covers a lot.
You can speed that up.
So chip company does chips. Explain. So you've done a few announcements recently. We've seen LG, and then you also have strategic investors like Hyundai and Samsung.
Yep.
Can you go through essentially how those conversations start and what the process is? Because you almost have to onboard a customer, right? Do you find that they know what you're doing intrinsically in and out before they approach you, or do you feel like they have nascent knowledge and then you have to teach them, and then that's how the relationship starts?
I think unfortunately it's the latter right now, and we need to get it to the former, right? We need it that people kind of know exactly what we're doing. But I don't think it's intuitive, right? They look at us and they go, well, are you an AI company? Are you a RISC-V company? Are you an IP company, or you're a hardware company? And the answer is, sort of all, but we're an AI hardware company that believes, again, in that general compute, a combination of general compute and acceleration. And we happen to be designing what we believe to be the world's highest performing RISC-V CPU by probably one of the best, most experienced teams on the planet with a track record of delivering high performance CPU. So they know, but I think what happens is they're typically interested in one more than the other. And then when we start to talk about our entire story, how those two components work together and how we can, reduce the cost and time to market with chiplets, I think it all comes together. And that's why we see not only investments in our company, but a strong desire to deploy our technology in their products.
So, for example, LG, as you've already announced, they want to integrate some of the AI machine learning into some of their SoCs, which from an outside perspective is so they're putting AI in TVs, which sounds great, but then part of me wonders how much of a market is there for that? Do you care that your partner may be putting your IP into something that may not sell millions of millions? Yeah, you kind of see what I'm getting at there.
Yeah, two things. So one, you're asking the sales guy, do I care if a customer buys something and is not able to sell a lot of it? Not really. We're trying to drive a business and we're happy to have lots of different use cases. But I think if you start to look at the future use case, especially of AI, or ML, it's super interesting, right? And I'll give you an example. We were talking with some automotive manufacturers and they're talking about how to use an LLM in a car. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But what if you want a highly personalized agent, or you want to be able to, communicate with your car and get some simple things done? What if you want to, add personalization to your cockpit screen? And the same thing with the TV, right? If you can have high performing machine learning in your SoC, in your product, and you're not killing your thermal budget or killing your price, you're able to do it reasonably. I think the added things that you can do with those features and with those, depending on what type of neural network you use, is pretty interesting. And I think they're coming up with some really creative ideas.
I know with some of these partnerships, you're already in the tape out process of silicon, and that's going fairly fast along. Yep. How much of their input the sort of reciprocal process of it would be really great if you actually did this or did that, or we're having some, teething issues with this or that. Next generation, we want it to improve. How much of that feedback loop is going on?
So I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I think if you look at Tenstorrent journey, it's been primarily a bunch of extremely smart engineers building what they think customers want. And my message to the team is, hey, okay, we've done a great job. We've built some fantastic technology, but now that we've started to work with customers and getting their feedback, my job is to ensure that we start to build what customers actually want, not just what we think they want. So that process is going extremely well, and it works both ways, right? And I'll give you two examples. One of the companies you mentioned, they've got an incredible portfolio of IP and video codecs, and they're looking to see if there's something that we can use on our side. And that's what I told you. We don't want to be the next ARM or Sci-Fi. We don't want to become an engineering support company. We've got some of the best designers in the world. We want to be an engineering design company. And when you look at that, we're looking to partner with companies that can help us round out our SoC. Maybe we had, if we're going to go into mobile, we're going to go into things. Where do we get a GPU from? What's the right IO block, or what's the right memory? We're working with a bunch of partners that we think can accentuate our offerings. And then number two, absolutely. And one thing we've done really, I think, the right way with both our CPU IP and our AI ML IP is we've started at the top, meaning that Ascalon is a high performance CPU, but we've built it from the grounds up to be extremely configurable, and with the right, PPA targets that we can actually scale that down, and it's very highly parameterizable. And on the AI side, I think we have one of the best solutions out there. We're going to be the world's first graph computer. We've got an interesting data flow system. We've got all the right data types in for RISC-V. We're able to do, dynamic sparsity, conditional sparsity, and these kind of things might not be the right solution for everyone. In a car, you already know what model you're going to run. You don't need to be able to run any model sight unseen. It's much easier for us to take out of the IP and optimize for a specific use case than it is to add things in. So I think we've started with the right technology offerings, in that we can go and optimize based on customer feedback relatively easily without having to redesign from scratch, because we're already starting at the top.
So we've covered a number of verticals that are already approaching you guys, in particularly automotive, commercial video goods, TVs. Yep. Are there any other major verticals that you're currently engaging heavily in, or are seemingly really interested in the stuff?
I would say if you look at our product offerings, I think it's clear automotive and data center and HPC. And I would say it's two ways, right? We've got folks on the team here that really like to build high performance technology, right? So that's one. I think we lend ourselves well to that. On the other hand, it's customers that are asking us to come and work in certain verticals. They see an opportunity there. So I think the natural ones, if you look at our technology roadmap, again, data center, HPC, automotive, I think is a clear opportunity. But then somewhat surprising is we've got a lot of interest in industrial, in mobile, in areas where I think it's maybe less of a technological decision and maybe more of a business decision, saying, hey, we're not comfortable with the current offerings out there, and we want to, one of the biggest things, and this is more of a RISC-V statement than anything else, is customers keep telling me it's that ownership piece that really excites them. And I think Tesla and Amazon have shown what you can do when you own your own silicon and you optimize it for the workload that you need. You can save hundreds of millions, if not billions, because you're only putting in there what you need and you're optimizing for that. So if you can own, it's the same reason we chose our RISC-V for our upcoming Blackwell chip is, Jim told the story of we went to ARM and we wanted a data type that we thought would be very useful for AI, and it wasn't able to be put in the chip that we wanted to use. So we're like, okay, we'll go build our own. Or sorry, first we said, okay, we'll go find someone that will, and Sci-Fi stepped up and did a great job. And then I think the team looked at what they had and said, okay, we want to try this. We want to do something better. So yeah, it's an interesting journey there.
It's how much does mentioning Jim's name open some of those doors?
Oh my God, yeah. I shouldn't be saying this, but I mean, it's a reality, right? Is that it's Jim, don't get me wrong, but we've just got, if you look at the names and the pedigree of where a lot of our engineers are coming from, as the guy that's responsible for going out to talk to customers, in a startup, you'd imagine that my job is like cold calling and begging people to meet with me. Quite the opposite. There's a lot of people that want to take a look at what Jim and Weihan and Yasuo and Dan Bailey, Jim Montanaro. We've got all these people here that people want to see what they're doing. They've worked with them before. They've seen their output. And I'll tell you, we go into many deals where all the deals that we've closed, our technology has been significantly audited. They've looked at it, they've looked under the covers, and they've compared it versus whether it's AI, ML, or whether it's RISC-V. They've compared against our competitors or the other folks in that space. And the consistent feedback we get is, you guys are more mature than we thought in terms of where you are. We really like what we see, and we think you're ahead of the game. And in that case, I think we're pretty happy not only with the doors that we open with the names that we have, but when they look under the covers, I think it's the work of people that clearly know what they're doing.
So obviously, with a lot of the partners you're involved with, and all the different verticals that we've discussed, how does working with those partners affect how your roadmap looks into the future? Because at a startup, I imagine it's pretty versatile and flexible, because that's what startups need to be.
Yeah, we got to be versatile and flexible, and we like to respond quickly. At the same time, we also have resource limitations, right? We're not like Intel or AMD where we've got tens of thousands of people we can command. What I can tell you, and we talked about it, is that we're moving from building technology that we think customers want to building products that customers tell us that they want. That's number one. I think we have an advantage in both our AI and our RISC-V in that we built a very robust, flexible, high-performing, sort of top-of-the-line product. And when customers come to us with asks or requests, you don't need a data center chip in a vehicle, right? We find that number one, Weihan, they built a RISC-V IP to be extremely parameterizable, and we can go configure that down. And number two, the AI, we've started with, everything in there. We can do inference and training and fine tuning. We can do, CNNs, NLPs, recommendation engines, anything out of the box with all the data types. And if a customer comes in and they want to optimize for, as I said, like in a car, they already know the one or two models they want to use. So we can then take out and optimize for them. So we are being strategic in the customers that we work with. We are certainly taking their feedback, and it's informing what we want to drive. But at the same time, we're managing our resources in a way that we can deliver and prioritize the right opportunities. That being said, we're also on a hiring tier. If you're looking for a job, come reach out to us. I think we're going to targeting 500 people in the next couple months. So.
Oh wow! And you're what, about 350, 360 right now?
Yeah, a little higher than that. I think we're closing in on about 400.
Oh, nice. So I started at the top of the video talking about your career, and you spent more than 10 years up in Asia, in Japan. Essentially selling laptops and that whole business for a variety of people. What I've noticed is that a lot of partners that have gone on record are Asian. I'm thinking there's a correlation there, or do you just find there's as a culture, there's a difference to working with US partners?
No, I mean, it's a combination of both. I don't think I'm not allowed to say that we've had a lot of inbound interest. You asked me about, JIM Keller's brand name and the people we have on the team, and that opens a lot of doors. So the inbound interest in Tenstorrent is absolutely phenomenal, number one. And I told you, when they ask about, it's like a Trojan horse. When they ask about AI ML, they quickly go to RISC-V and vice versa. But it's also, there is I'm working with customers that I've worked with in the past. I think the LG deal is a great example. I ran the LG account at AMD for a long time, called up my friend, said, hey, let's take a look at what we have. But, once we get in the door and they see the technology, they work with the team, I think the conversation moves really naturally from there. But yeah, of course, I use my connections and my familiarity. You're going to be seeing a lot more coming from Asia. And that's, partly by design, partly because I think once you get momentum in a certain market, the other players in that market see that. Korea's a great example, right?
Are there any targets that weren't even on your radar that customers have suggested you go after to help them?
Is that a vertical product or a performance statement?
Yes.
Yes. 100%. I think I gave the example of like mobile, right? We designed our parts to be extremely high performance. That's not to say mobile isn't, right? But there's other factors there. But I can tell you that one is being driven more by business decisions rather than technology. Mm-hmm. And that's to say that, people want to own their own compute. And I think what companies have learned, like, with I don't know if I said this earlier, but with Tesla and Amazon, that if you own your own silicon, you can optimize for the workload that you need, and the savings you can drive are phenomenal. I mean, hundreds of millions, if not billions, because you're optimized around the workload that you need to be optimized around. So, short answer, we've been asked to do everything under the sun. A lot of my job right now is saying no. But we have the luxury and we're fortunate to be able to pick and choose the partners we work with and the jobs that we work on. But again, the team really loves to do high performance things, so we're doing a lot of high performance verticals.
So if I was to step back and take, say, a customer viewpoint, as in an end user, viewpoint, they see on one side, Tenstorrent has the chiplets and the IP, and that goes into customer products that then get sold to the end user, and then you have your own product portfolio where it's got your own silicon, your own PCBs, to the point we spoke earlier about the Galaxy, the 4U system. How does the approach of those two segments change when it comes to pushing or creating a message around what the target customers end up being?
Yeah, so I think Jim's message has been very clear. We build computers for AI, and we build high performance technology, and we believe that the future of compute, the future of the data center is, again, general compute and the combination of general compute and acceleration. We choose to go to market with our vision of what that is, with big Ascalon and our big AI together, and the advantages we think that can bring to the market. At the same time, we are an engineering design company. So if customers come to us and they say, okay, we want your solution as is, we're happy with it, we'll sell them a card or a server. If say, hey, our workload or our route to market's a little bit different, that's where we can work with them, and we have the flexibility. We can sell them IP. We can sell them chiplets that they can go and stack themselves. We can procure the chiplets for them and design the product that they want, or we can do sort of like a semi-custom engineering design opportunity. We can't do that for everyone, but I think right now, given we're a startup and our flexibility, we're able to really work with customers to design what they need, and that's been pretty interesting in terms of the kinds of requests we're getting.
So that's all B2B. What about B2C? Because you'll not know how many requests I've had from all of you about when can I get hands on silicon by these guys? When can I go on Amazon and just like an NVIDIA, just like an AMD, buy a card in a box with a driver stack and just install it and run my models, run my compute?
Now I might really get in trouble. I look at my comms guy over there. So I'll tell you what we haven't talked about is that I don't think anytime soon we have plans to go have Ascalon or our RISC-V CPU in a box. Again, we've designed Ascalon to be sort of a companion to our AI product. That being said, we're big believers in democratizing AI. The whole point of our company is, I think we believe that we'd like to see a hardware solution that's designed for AI, not just happens to be good at AI. Kudos to NVIDIA. I mean, the software stack they've done is incredible. It's but I think there's something to be said about hardware that's designed around AI and ML workloads. So we are actively looking, and if you look at our form factors, right, we've got PCI cards that should, in theory, be able to go into your systems. So we're looking. I think hopefully soon we'll be talking about a dev kit or a dev board that we're going to make available, and we want to make it available as many of you that want to go try it out. And then I think using the feedback from that. Our goal is to absolutely get our AI technology into as many hands as possible. So I think we can say that fairly safely.
Yeah. So all of you who are asking, right? Word from the horse's mouth. Words from David's mouth.
It's coming. We had on our website. We had a coming soon logo. I had to take it off because we were getting so many requests. But you have been heard. The dev kit program is being worked on, and we're looking, frankly, for people that would love to learn how to run models and frankly make new models on hardware that is very different than what a GPU is and designed for AI ML. We think it could be really interesting for somebody that want to try something new.
So on that side of everything, when it comes to your open source strategy, your software strategy, we've heard little tidbits here and there. Can you kind of sort of coalesce how you approach that to your customer base?
Sure. So we've gone on record in saying that we believe open source wins. We believe open standards win. It's a big part of what RISC-V is doing and the strength of RISC-V. So we have two software stacks. I think you've talked about them quite a bit. One of them is PyBuddha, which is our top-down throw in a machine learning model, have it run. We have publicly stated we're going to open source that. We don't have a date yet. We need to make sure that it's sort of running the way that we want it to run before we go out and start to push that. There's still some more fundamentals that need to be worked. On the other hand, we've got a bottoms up, kind of like a bare metal stack that's tentatively named Buddha-M. For metal. And that one, I think we are looking at potentially open sourcing sooner. And the interesting part about that is that it'll allow you to actually we're going to expose all of the hardware. You're going to see all the documentation for what's in the hardware. And you're actually going to be able to go in and program kernels for the little baby risks that are inside our AI 10.6 course. And we're hoping that that should be really interesting for people that really want to do low-level programming on the hardware and really learn about what it can do and can't do, and hopefully teach us something along the way too.
And then on top of that, there's also cloud.
Yeah. So cloud, we're going to have cards available for people, but it's pretty clear that a lot of people don't want the hassle of installing their own cards or don't have the space to install their own servers. So we're going to have all of our services available on cloud, and we'll be talking about that here later this year. I think we'll have some sneak peeks of some of the things we can do soon.
So if you guys have any questions about these guys' cloud offering, let me know. I'll forward them on.
That'd be great. Yep.
And we'll see if we can get a Q&A session maybe later in the year.
Yeah, wonderful. Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you much, David, for your time. And thanks to Tenstorrent. We've got another interview coming soon with another C-suite executive. So if this comes out before then, make sure you get your questions in. If not, then we'll save them for another time. But again, thanks, David.
Hey, thank you, Aiden.